Hey there! Today I'm showing you how to paint loose watercolor fruits and vegetables. At first, I made sure that I had some fruits and vegetables lying around. You can use all kinds of fruits and vegetables that you have, and all kinds of pens and watercolors that you have. I just decided to use this brush pen that I used to really hate, but it sort of grew on me. It's perfect for these very, very loose things. It's kind of hard to control. So if you feel like you're forcing yourself into making everything look perfect, try to use a brush pen that's very hard to control because it forces you to become more loose. And also, if you tend to be too perfectionist about this, then set yourself a timer and only let yourself paint for about 5 minutes or even less. Just set the timer to a time that is kind of uncomfortable for you so that you have to be way faster than you would like to. And after using the brush pen, I started to color everything in with some watercolors. And I did this very loosely as well. I used a way bigger brush than I would usually use, so it's really messy and I colored outside the lines. But this is kind of the character of this, so this makes the style. So I recommend just using products that you're maybe not so familiar with because it loosens everything up for you. And yeah, I did a mixture of different fruits and veggies. Again, you can use whatever you have lying around, or you can go and buy stuff that you think looks cool. It might be a cool opportunity to try something that you've never tried before. But here I'm just doing apples and radish and kiwis. So again, I'm painting those and just very, very loosely adding layers. Also, make sure that you're using a waterproof pen, obviously, because that if you don't, then it will smudge and it will fail terribly. So I guess we've all been there. So don't forget to test whether your pen's waterproof beforehand. And you can see that I'm adding in more and more layers using the wet on wet technique where everything blends together really nicely because the paper is wet already. And you can also use very bad quality paper for that because it will loosen up you will loosen up even further because you don't feel bad about ruining anything. So I started practicing this on very, very bad quality paper, and it really helped me because I tend to overwork pieces and I tend to be way too caught up into making everything look super nice. So if you're using very bad paper, you can't add a lot of layers because it just can't handle the layers. So that might be very useful for you to try. And after you've tried that, you can move on to better paper and then use techniques like the wet on wet technique like I mentioned earlier, because on bad paper you won't be able to use the technique, I guess, but if you have watercolor paper it's easier to do things like that. But I mean, there's advantages and disadvantages to using both quality kinds of paper. So use whatever you're comfortable with and don't feel like you're ruining anything. A sketchbook is here for practicing, it's just here to do stuff and create something and learn something new. It doesn't have to look good. And also, just paint without the intention of showing it to anybody, because if you just do it for yourself and are just messing around and don't plan to show it to anybody, you don't have this huge pressure to make it look good, and that's the perfect situation for you to learn how to do stuff and to not be too to not put too much pressure on yourself, because when you do that, you won't really be able to leave your comfort zone and experience new stuff. But if you're like, okay, I'm gonna try this, but it doesn't have to look good, I'm just trying this as an experiment, I'm just messing around here, I think then you will learn so much more compared to when you're like, oh my god, this has to look good, I have to make a good painting. It doesn't have to look good at all. If it's super terrible, just move on to the next sheet of paper or to the next page and try it again. And don't forget to enjoy it, to just mess around, have fun, use your favorite colors, paint your favorite fruit, or maybe try something new. Just enjoy doing it and don't really focus on the outcome, because especially if you're trying to make loose art, it's super important not to focus on that too much. You can see here that I used all kinds of colors, but I had a color palette, kind of. I used green, red, and pink tones, and I think that's about it. A little bit of yellow. So maybe limit yourself to a color palette if you have problems with deciding on what colors you want to use and it gets too overwhelming. You can also just do one piece at a time, so just one fruit per page. You don't have to make a kind of layout like I did here. If this is just too much for you at first, just start with one and set a timer for 3 minutes and do it as best as you can. And when it's bad, then that's it. Just move on to the next one. It's so much fun. I can promise you that this exercise makes you loosen up, and it's just so much fun to just get out of your own head and out of your own way and not be too precious about your art. It really doesn't matter if it's good or not. Maybe if it helps you, even go so far that you say that you will throw away the piece afterwards. I don't know if that's a constructive thing to say, but maybe it even helps you. And I mean, don't be too precious about your art. It's cool when it looks good, but it doesn't have to. It's about learning something and about having fun. So I just very quickly wanted to show you some other fruits and veggies that I did in a different sketchbook. And here I didn't use watercolor paper. It's not the best kind of paper, so I wanted to show you this as well. And you can see that I already did the line art and I just put colors on there. And if you don't feel comfortable to create your own pieces yet, those pictures that you can see right now will be coloring pages on my Patreon account. So if you want to head on over there, you can get those. I mean, you don't have to, but maybe that's a starting point for you. So you can see that the paper doesn't handle the watercolors too well, but it really doesn't matter. Just mess around with it and have fun. That's the whole purpose of doing that. And I used all kinds of different colors, and you can also do the watercolor first and then add the pen, obviously, so you don't have to do it in that order. I just prefer it that way for some reason. So those were all the pieces. I really hope that you liked this video, and if you did so, please give it a thumbs up and please consider subscribing. I'll see you next week. Goodbye!